Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday Talk. We're delighted you're able to join us. I hope you find the information we're sharing today valuable. To get us started this morning, I'd like to introduce Stacy from Grace Home Care. Stacy.
Okay. So I actually wanted to introduce Joanne because Joanne is going to be, she is our sales and marketing team, and so she is going to be here helping doing the donuts every Tuesday. So she's going to be doing the Dunkin' Donuts or whoever donut she's going to be. So we just wanted to introduce her so you would know who she is and know when she's going to be here, which is going to be 10:30 on Tuesdays, but tomorrow, because we weren't here today, she's going to do it tomorrow at 10.
Whatever time you
Yeah, so it's around 11 o'clock, and so it immediately follows either Tuesday Talk or the Wednesday Talk, housekeeping matters. They're located right at the table in the lobby. Everybody gets an opportunity to stop by and get a donut. Who doesn't want a donut, unfortunately, right?
And coffee. Yeah.
And it's just a great chance to get to know our new team, introduce yourself, and start building that relationship. So I'm excited, and you used to get 45, 50 people, maybe a few more. So
Great. Yeah. Come and learn your donut name. Actually,
Your name again?
my name is Joanne.
Joanne what?
Hi, I'm Joanne. Nice to meet you all. I'm very excited to come here to help out with some events and work with you all. So I'm excited about donuts tomorrow. So please come and see me because I have a really special display. I want to know what your donut name is, so you have to come and find out. But thank you very much, and I really look forward to meeting all of you personally and working here. It's a
Are you going to
blessing.
be in the south lobby or the north lobby?
Which one are we going to be at tomorrow? Does it matter?
you expect me to have details? Okay, Tiffany.
I'll meet you at the South Lobby.
So we're going to be rotating, correctly?
Yes.
We'll be rotating, so the next week it'll be the north. So you guys probably know better than we do, so, but we'll be there.
Okay, well, Grace Home Health is doing what?
Grace Family Home Care?
Family home care, thank you.
Where's the Margaret? And I'm sorry,
What are you doing?
We do home health, but tomorrow we're doing donuts.
Okay.
First to get us sick, then they come.
We're making you sick with our, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, they'll be individually wrapped, so don't worry, I'm very,
Infection control.
Yes.
Yes, they're wrapped individually, so no worries of infection control. So, and purple, our favorite color, so. Thank you, guys.
thank you.
Thanks, Brent.
All right, thank you, ladies. We really appreciate that. Next up is Robin, who has an update on the poll situation and voting. Robin, come on up.
Handle that, Bob.
It's me and Andrea Hagner, and I'd like to invite her to come up and join me. This is going to be a two-part presentation for you this morning. First of all, I'd like to tell you all, share with you, what I've learned about our election process here in Pinellas County since the last time we voted, I guess. And the first thing and then the second thing we'll do is talk specifically about what we're going to be doing for the month of September. First of all, you should know that your ballot is going to be 2 to 3 pages long, depending on where you live. Okay? That includes 4 initiatives, all kinds of local issues of one kind or another, and the candidates, whoever the candidates happen to be. What does that mean? That means, that means that it's going to take a while to cast your vote. Even if you go in there with everything marked on a sample and you know exactly what you're going to do, time at the poll is going to be lengthy. That's the only point I'm making. Secondly, there are going to be not 3 but 5 early voting sites this year, and we'll be publishing some information about where those are. A lot of people want to vote in person, but because of the delays in the length of the ballot and the number of people we suspect will be voting, if you want to vote in person, it is strongly encouraged that you vote early at one of those 5 election sites. We'll share information about that. Okay. Oh, let me tell you the one wonderful comment I got from the election office. I've been over there a couple of times trying to get people's questions answered. And it was, as they're talking about early voting, I asked them, well, how long do you suppose it's going to take to do early voting in one of these early voting sites? And she looked at me and very tartly replied, not as long as election day. I rest my case on that subject. Okay, regarding mail-in ballots, they're supposed to be mailed out to us as of September 29th. And they need to be received by the election office no later than 7 o'clock on election day if it's a mail-in ballot. Now, what could go wrong? What could go wrong? NPR reports that 18,000 plus votes, mail votes, were not counted in Florida at the last primary because they missed a signature, something was wrong with the signature, number one, or number two, they marked the ballot wrong. We can educate and help with both of those things. Someone asked me just a moment ago, how do I know if my signature is okay? Well, we'll help you with that if you'll stop by our booths here shortly. Okay. If you vote early with the mail ballot, let's say, they have time to get it. Oh, that's what I wanted to tell you. They don't wait till the end to count up mail votes. It's really important that you know that. They count them as they arrive, okay? They don't add them to the voting total until after the polls have closed and the votes are tabulated from the live voters. So we're not going to be delayed lengthy periods of time because of mail-in voting. Just rest assured that that's not going to happen. But if a vote is rejected, what do you do? How do you know? The earlier you get that mail-in ballot in, the more likely you are going to be able to fix it, because they send a letter to your address if there's something wrong and they can't accept the ballot. So you have an opportunity to do something about it. So the earlier you do it, the better it's going to be. And all we want to do is give you all as much assurance as we can that your vote will be counted. And Andrea is going to introduce to you how we're going to do that. Thank you.
Okay, Robin and I are going to have our computers in the lobby. North lobby will be this Thursday, 9 a.m. to noon. South lobby gets us on next Tuesday from 2 to 5. Then we'll do 2 to 5 the following Tuesday in the North lobby, and the 22nd in the morning in the South lobby. So everybody has a chance to come by and see us that wants to. We will help you make sure you are registered, that your address is right. If you want a mail-in ballot, check to make sure, order it. If you've ordered it in the past and you're not sure whether you're still going to get one, we can help you check that. One of the things that might be interesting is bring your Florida driver's license with you if you have one, because that's the signature that they're going to check your ballot against if you're going to sign in the ballot. So bring your license down and we can make sure that you're registered as that. Your middle initial is there or it's not there or whatever. There are several things we can do to help you. When we get closer, like in October, Robin and I intend to get a lot of information about the ballot initiatives and the local candidates. We don't care who you vote for, but we want you to be informed as to what you're voting for and make an informed choice about who you want to vote for. So we will start making more material available in October. But for September, the goal is to get everybody registered and straight so that we can, as soon as the ballots start to arrive, we can start processing. Okay? Anybody have any questions? You're also smart. Thank you. Bye.
All right, thank you very much. We really appreciate that information. And next up, Tiffany has an award we're going to pass out.
I'm gonna get some help from Perry.
So last week we had our fiesta. Last week we had our fiesta. Thank you everyone for attending. Ginger, as always, does a beautiful job, food and beverage, with the food as well. And we have drawn the winner for the gift basket. If you notice, as you were coming around the exhibits, you got a ticket for the raffle. And this morning we drew the winner. So we have, drum roll, Jim and Helen Larkins. So if you want to drop by my office and pick up your wonderful basket, you can do that this afternoon. Are they here? No? Well, if you're at home, congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Larkins, and I'll turn it back over to Brant. Thank you.
All right. Great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Gary, I'm going to return that. Let's take a look at the daily COVID numbers. The numbers are really, really good, and it continues the trend that we have continued to see over the last 20, 21 days. In Pinellas County yesterday, we had 19,782 cases, and that was up just about 60 cases. And then 658 fatalities, which was only 8 deaths out of a county with over 1 million people. In the state of Florida, we went up about 1,800 cases yesterday and only 68 fatalities. We always track the leading indicators, which is the number of new cases, and the trailing indicator, which is the number of fatalities, because we know that the way we eventually will defeat this disease is when the number of people who have had the disease, recovered, and gotten well exceed the number of people who got the disease and suffered through it or are still recovering. To that point, I wanted to share with you this chart right here. This is a daily report that we submit, and it tracks the number of cases across the campus. And there's one area I want to point to right here. This is the number of negative residents. 380 residents on our campus have been tested, and they have been negative, and we've tested 777 staff members. And I want you to look at the number of recovering cases. We have 2 in the IL, and we have 15 staff. So very clearly, you can see that the number of recovering cases is far exceeding the number of people who have contacted or are suspected of having contacted the disease. This is critical because that's eventually how we will overcome this disease. Pinellas County, yesterday, there were 4 new hospitalizations and 1 fatality in our zip code. So those numbers are just tremendous, and it's indicative of a continuation of the drop-off in the impact of COVID. There are 2 other slides that I want to share with you, and I am not a medical doctor, and I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn last night, but this information came from a professor of pharmacy at the University of Toronto. It was shared with me by Tina Donahue. And there are 2 slides that sort of talk about what I believe are 2 significant factors, and we think about early prevention, early detection, and getting on top of symptoms before they become life-threatening. This really talks about the process and what we have learned between February at the onset of the disease and what we see today. And so ventilators were thought to be the best way to treat sick patients who couldn't breathe. And you'll remember that the president invested heavily in building ventilators, and by the time he got them done, he had shipped them to New York, and they sat unused Well, we really quickly figured out that ventilators were not the most effective means of treating this disease. They realized that the virus that causes the blood clots in the vessels of the lungs and other parts of the body causes reduced oxygenation. And now we know that just providing oxygen by ventilators will not help prevent or dissolve the microclots that form in the lungs. And this is why using drugs like aspirin and yeah, you went too fast. What was the other one? Heparin. Are designed to treat blood clots or inflammation as opposed to just increased oxygenation. The second thing that we learned that was new, move up just a little. There's a little bit more up there, okay. So previously, patients used to die before reaching a hospital due to reduced oxygen in their blood, and this was called happy hypoxia. And even though the oxygen saturation was gradually reducing, COVID-19 patients didn't have the symptoms until they became critically ill. And so we get real nervous when oxygen saturation drops below 90%. If you have COPD or respiratory issues, it's not unusual for you to run a 92, 93. Normal is somewhere up around 96 or 97. But if it drops below 90, that is another one of the pre-indicators of the process. And so breathlessness is not triggered in COVID patients. So we're getting sick patients very late to the hospitals in February of 20. So they didn't understand the relationship between the shortness of breath and the oxygenation. And so by the time people were seeking medical attention, it was far too late. And then they put them on the ventilators, which they discovered wasn't a very effective means of treating the disease. And so now that we know about hypoxia, we're monitoring oxygen saturation of all patients with a simple home use pulse oximeter and getting them to the hospital if their saturation levels drop to 93% or less. This gives you a much better chance of survival. So if you have symptoms and you call Nurse Diane and she comes up, she's going to evaluate your symptoms, she's going to take your temperature, and if she suspects that you might have COVID, she's going to do a ox pulse reading on you. And so this new emerging technology and means of treating the prevention of COVID gives us new tools that we previously didn't have in our tool bag. And so when we look at the fact that the number of negative tests are beginning to overtake the number of positive tests, that's part of what's happening is we're getting to people quicker, sooner rather than later, and we're helping to make sure you survive a diagnosis of COVID. So real important, please continue to have your temperatures taken every single day. Number one tool that we use for the prevention of COVID is to get your temperature checked and to do it on a daily basis. Report your symptoms early. Nurse Diane, our wellness nurse, is available and she is going out on a daily basis, checking residents, and as part of that screening process, if we see symptoms, we can use the new tools available to us to try to help prevent the spread. Any COVID questions before I get to the rest of the presentation? Okay. There's a third slide, and it was related but a little more complex, and so I felt like it might be better conveyed if I wrote it down. So the 5 thoughts is going to be talking about the new antioxidant drug regimens and how they're being utilized to fight COVID. So I think you'll find that interesting as well. All right. So one last reminder, flu shots. That was one of the key success factors for us this this last year in fighting COVID is so many residents and staff members had had the flu shot that when COVID hit, we didn't have anyone who was sick. All of our immune systems had not been challenged. And so it's really important as we think about a potential second wave of COVID that we make sure that we're healthy. Right now today, there's not a single resident, a single staff member across all 3 product lines that we suspect of having COVID. That's a great accomplishment. And so let's make sure we set ourselves up to have that same level of success next year by getting our flu shots and making sure that our immune systems are as strong as they possibly can be. Couple of food and beverage things to talk about. The Labor Day picnic is going to go ahead as planned, and there are a couple of changes. It will be a regular meal service just like any other day of the week. The menu will change, but the meal service will not change. So whether you're doing delivery or whether you're going to the dining room, it's going to be the same process that we've implemented over the last 7-8 days. And Ricky and his team have put together like a barbecue platter. There'll be ribs and chicken and pulled pork and beans, a full platter of delicious food. You'll have that available either delivery or in the dining room. And that's Labor Day, regular hours. Nothing has changed on that. Tomorrow, there is a new change. It's unannounced. You're going to hear it first here today. And for those of you who are eating in the dining room, we're expanding the menu from 2 items to 4. And so the 2 items that are listed on your menu are available in the dining room or they're available for takeout. However, if you go to the dining room, you'll have 2 additional entrees, and those entrees are salmon and the Reuben sandwich. And so in the dining rooms, you'll have 4 available options to choose from. We're trying to encourage people to come back to the dining room. Check out the water, it's just fine out there. We're capable of handling about 25% of our resident population. We have 456 residents in the independent living, which means that we can do about 100 plus in either building. And we're currently averaging about 40 a night. And so the dining rooms are open. There's plenty of space for you. Our first week has gone very, very well. We already mentioned that there are no new COVID cases or people we suspect of having COVID. We feel very comfortable that we can safely do this and not put people at risk. So if you haven't tried going back to the dining rooms, please come and do so. The team has just done an incredible job of monitoring the lobbies. Residents have been very cooperative in selecting times that work for them and keeping crowds at a minimum. We've done a great job with separation and keeping the families separated in small groups at tableside. So please come and check it out. I think it's an experience you'll feel very comfortable with once you actually go and do it. Tiffany asked me to remind you that this Thursday at 7 p.m. in the Breezeway, Lonnie is going to be here. I guess he's been here many times in the past, plays music from the 40s and 50s, and so he is going to be out on the Breezeway, and residents are encouraged to come out and sit and enjoy that. Today, important announcement, today, between the hours of 12:30 and 2:30, our emergency pendant system and the call bell system in your apartment will be down. And we are upgrading the software and modernizing the system. and there's no way to do this without shutting down the system. We thought about doing it in the middle of the night and said that's probably not the right decision. You need to make sure you have it in the middle of the night. And so we elected to do it after the check-ins today and then early afternoon after lunch. So if you should have an emergency in your apartment between the hours of 12:30 and 2:30, the pendants won't work, and I need you to call the front desk or call 911 directly. And we'll try to keep this down to 2 hours, get the software update installed, and then get the system back up and running. We don't anticipate any problems. The technicians tell us this is a pretty straightforward transition. It's something that we've needed to do for years. Our software was extremely outdated, and so this is an enhancement that will allow us some additional services that we'll be able to offer down the road. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the emergency generator in the north building. How many north building residents do we have? Okay, so Sunday we had a campus-wide, it actually was a community-wide weather-related emergency situation. We lost power for about an hour and 40 minutes. And in the north building, our brand new $70,000 generator did not kick on. And so that's a sore subject and a source of consternation for us, but we immediately had them respond, and by the time the power came back on, the generator had come back on as well. And so it was down for about an hour and a half. And so a couple of lessons learned in that. The first thing I want you to know is we diagnosed what the issue was with the emergency generator. When we had put in a new generator, we put in a larger generator than what we had had previously. And there is what's called a transfer switch. And the transfer switch is what takes the power from the emergency generator, shuts down the power in the building, and converts the generator power online. And so it's called a transfer shift. It takes the power from one source and changes the source. And the transfer did not occur because the switch, which was also 30 or 40 years old, wasn't able to handle the new power of the emergency generator. And we had tested it. We test our generators every Wednesday. And so it had tested lots of times and never had any problems. The installers had certified it. But what they failed to ensure is that when they tested it, it was not under load. When we run an emergency generator test every Wednesday, we don't turn off the power because it would take all the air conditioning and TVs across the campus down. We just turn on the power, and it's called not being under load, just to confirm that the transfer switch will work. Well, it works just fine when there's no load. As soon as you put a load on it, it didn't have enough capacity to handle the larger generator. So we've solved that. I've got a new transfer switch on order. It's as soon as it's here, we'll get it installed. We've trained the team how to manually convert from auto power to generator power, so that in the event that this happens again, we'll be able to immediately go into the generator room and make the transfer. So I want to just let you know that we were on top of that and had a solution in place. A reminder for resident safety, in the event that we should lose power, it's not a good idea to go out and about in the hallways or the stairwells without a flashlight. So use a flashlight, because in an emergency situation, you're going to be going out into the unknown, and there may be areas where we don't have emergency lighting, even when the generator is working. And so it's just a good practice everyone should have as part of your emergency supplies, a good flashlight and lots of batteries. keep that available. And in the event of an emergency, whether it's a power outage, a storm, a tornado, a fire, if you're going out and about, take that flashlight with you because you need to be prepared for the unexpected. And so those were the action plan that we walk away with and the lesson learned. And I think I'm going to finish there and leave enough time for some questions. So, Carrie and Donna?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
If we go into the dining room and not having food delivered, will we get the 5 points?
5 thoughts. I knew what you meant.
5 thoughts.
And so help me out. For those of you who eat in the dining room, how do you get 5 thoughts? Do you get it with?
You don't get it.
You don't get it at all?
You don't get it.
Okay.
It comes in the delivery.
Okay. We'll get that taken care of. All right, so I'll talk to Ricky right after the meeting and make sure that there is a stack of 5 thoughts available at both hostess desks so that you have an opportunity, if you're eating in the dining room, to grab a 5 thoughts. That's a great item we overlooked. Thank you.
I have a question for Tiffany. Are we going to see designated survivor on Sunday?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you know for sure?
Yesterday we had a training with John and Lauren and the team so that we don't run into those issues anymore.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. I have a question about vaccines, and I guess it's something that Leslie or somebody needs to look up. Thanks to WIDA, I discovered that we have like 5 different vaccines out there. It's not like one formula. There's multiple formulas depending on which vendor produces it. I don't know what CVS ends up with, but I do know there's at least 2 that have to do with old folks like us. I just want to be assured as to which one we're actually going to be getting here. That was recommended by CVS to check.
Okay. So, great question. It's on vaccines, and I have not seen this year's vaccines. The first flu clinics are coming up in October, is October, so I've not seen the vaccines for this year, but to Robin's point, she's accurate. There are different vaccines for different parts of the country based upon where they anticipate the flu hitting the hardest. They're based on age and demographics. And so seniors might take a different vaccine than someone who's early age. And so absolutely, we will provide the information on the vaccines, and as part of getting your flu shot, if you ask for it, there is a flyer that they can hand you that talks specifically about the vaccines you are receiving or are about to receive, that gives you some more detailed information.
I was just mainly wondering how in the world they pick which one.
Yeah, and so I'm not a doctor, but my understanding is the vaccines are based on cold weather, and so some viruses thrive in cold weather. Some parts of the country are more susceptible to viruses because of the cold weather, and so there are a lot of demographics data involved in that. Density of population.
Last year, Wayne and I got our vaccine at Publix, and they specifically have, and CVS does too, I'm sure, have the over 65 formula.
It is the over 65 that comes here.
Yeah.
I want to just take a moment and thank you, sir, for trimming the palm trees on the MP wing. You did just in time in that store. You worked on it Saturday.
Good.
They did a beautiful job.
Good. I'm delighted to hear that. So the painting is going well, and they're doing a couple of extra things for us. They're doing all the gutter repairs. They are sealing all of the lanais windows and the banding on between the second and third floor that has caused so many leaks for our second floor residents. And then they also addressed some pesky palm trees. So I'm delighted to hear that that got resolved.
They needed, they were in the way of the painters.
When the power is on in the building, all of the exit signs are lit up. Why don't we have battery backup so when the power goes off, the exit lights stay on?
Yeah, are you a north building?
Yes.
Yeah, so we actually do the emergency exit lights and the stairwell lighting and every third light in the corridor is on the emergency generator. But when the emergency generator failed, all the lighting failed. And so they are lit, but not if the emergency generator fails. One of the other things, our safety committee was talking about this yesterday, and you know, you learn from every one of these experiences, and the thing that we learned and we're going to implement is the stairwells are the most dangerous area. If we lose power, it's during the day, everyone can open their doors, you can see into the corridors, and we can make that safe. But when you get into the stairwells, if the emergency generator doesn't fire up, or those lights which have a limited life, if those eventually fail, you've got to be able to light up those stairwells. And so our plan is to designate one stairwell in both buildings and put in a new set of battery-operated overhead lighting, just to make sure that our stairwells are accessible 24/7 in the event of a power loss. And we think that's an enhancement that will give us a third redundancy.
Sounds terrific. Right, Harry? Yes, Harry.
Right here. We got
We've
one
been
here
fighting
first.
for that couple of
Wait a
years.
minute, Rosa, we got one right here.
I am directing toward maintenance. I have an old air conditioner, and it has been reported about every other week since January that we have a problem. We went a whole week without any air, and I've had to resort to leaving my front door open to keep it reasonable. So, yesterday, we got up in the morning and it was 79 degrees. And the young man came and said, well, you've got water back up in your tank. And so it had been blocked numerous times. And our Freon is leaking. That was the whole summary, that we have a leaky Freon. And we've had tile replacement in the closet. And I would like very much to have this air conditioner replaced.
So, a couple of different thoughts. I would encourage you to always attend maintenance talks, which will be resuming very shortly. That's every Friday, and Darwin has an opportunity to take concerns directly from residents. And so it sounds pretty clearly like what you have is one of our very old original air conditioners, and because of its age, just like the rest of it, the joints get achy and they start to get loose, and so we have Freon loss and condensation, and it probably does need to be replaced. We are replacing air conditioners at this time. The three things that maintenance is allowed to go in and do are air conditioners, electrical, and plumbing. And so do you know if your unit has been ordered?
No, but they know that they have to measure again, and that there's a possibility that if it's not the correct size that you already have, then they would have to be ordered.
Yeah.
They got that far.
So it sounds like you're well on the way, and that they're on top of it. We have,
But, excuse me, I have been going round and round with
getting somebody to even look at it who knows what they're doing. And I was told that you are the one to talk to.
Okay, well, so I will follow up, but if they're at the stage where they're measuring, that means that they are getting ready to order it. And we have left and right-hand return air conditioners, and then a few lucky souls have what's called a center return. And if you're a center return, we have none in stock. They all have to be individually made. The left and the right returns are standard. We keep a par level on left and right returns, but every center return air conditioner has to be individually made, and the wait time is 12 weeks. What I need to find out is where you are on the process. I will find out, and either Lauren and I will call you and give you an update specifically where you are in that process. Okay?
What's the apartment number?
R111.
Okay.
What else?
About a month ago, you purchased 2 very high-tech sanitizers. I wondered how they were being utilized.
So the UV light disinfectant sanitizers are being utilized. We've gotten certified. We've completed the training. Primarily, we have deployed them in our assisted living and skilled nursing. They are available for the IL based upon someone who might need them. As a side effect, we determined because they kill all forms of life, plants, fishes, they also kill bugs. And so if you have a situation where you might have a pesky critter living in your apartment, this is also a great pest control tool. It wasn't the intended use, but it does have some additional benefits. So in the independent living, if you have a diagnosis of COVID, or if you have a flu diagnosis, and if you live with someone else, that's a perfect application for this machine. It gives you the ability to, once you become non-symptomatic, it gives us a chance to go in and completely sanitize your apartment to make sure that any disease is eradicated and your spouse is not going to be at risk at that point on.
Brent, just a point of information, I want to thank you. You allowed Flacker to have a mailbox in the south and one in the north. So if you have any questions about that, please just put them in and we'll answer them. You might say, what in the heck is Flacker? Well, put your question down, we answer it. Thanks again.
Thank you, Harry. Got a mic coming.
We have the new menus furnished for next week. There's no lunch options. You can circle lunch, but you know, what do you get? You get dinner. You get the same thing as dinner.
Yes, you do in the dining room.
So
you call it dinner or lunch, but it's the same thing as dinner.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So the only lunch option is available in the actual dining room. And then at dinner, it's the same two items. It's just delivered at the evening hours instead of the lunch hours.
Thank you.
We got one more over here.
Just wondering if you're getting close to opening those side doors.
So really good numbers. Let me just talk about that real quickly. So the side doors, I know they're a big source of contention, and I get it. And we need to have there's something called case pop, and it's the number of cases per 100,000 people, and right now we're at 8. That's our case pop number. And so that is still too high, but there is steady improvement. A number of new cases in Pinellas County, or let's do the state, number of cases in the state yesterday was 1,800. Now, if you've been watching the report or following the data, over the weekend, on Saturday and Sunday, we had 11,000 new cases. And so there's something going on that 3 weeks ago, we averaged about 2,500 cases Monday through Friday. It dropped to about 2,000 last week, and now we're averaging about 1,500 a day. And so there is a dramatic drop-off. But then on the weekends, they've been going up by 10 to 15,000 on the weekends, and we don't know why that is. We suspect that the end of the week testing that's when most people test, and it sort of overwhelms the system, and Saturday and Sunday we get data, and so it's skewing the numbers, but that's what we need to have. Here's the other thing that I think is really important before I can answer that. We're at 10.25%, so for every 100 people that are tested, a little over 10 are positive. And that's too high. The goal is 5%. When we get down to 5%, then we're able to take the next step. And so here in the state of Florida, we're at 10.25. In Pinellas, we are at 10.31. But that is a cumulative data from March 18 forward. The data for Pinellas County yesterday was 2.8%. So we are well below the benchmark, and that is also true of the state. They're right at 5%. So we are close to being able to get that 7-day consecutive drop below the benchmark of 5%. And when I have that, I'm able to take the next step. I'm anticipating that at the end of this week, I will be announcing a date to reopen those doors, and I'm hoping that it's going to be middle of next week. So I need everybody to hang with me for another 10 days while we try to get that 7 consecutive days where our case pop is down below the benchmark.
How do I explain that to my dog?
and you know, I know it's nobody likes this, but I would remind you that right now there are 0 residents and 0 staff members with COVID or flu-like symptoms in any of our buildings. And so I know you can feel like this is an extreme measure and it's an annoyance. And I do understand that, but please bear with me for 10 more days. Ultimately, the only goal we have is to keep you safe. And so for 10 more days, I need you to bear with me and put up with the doors. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate everybody coming out. Hope you got a lot of information out of this. Thanks.